Hey there, happy Wednesday. Welcome to your next math lesson. It is Spirit Week. Today, for you on Wednesday, is Crazy Sock Day. I'm filming this video on Crazy Hair Day. So if you feel like celebrating Crazy Hair Day again with me, go ahead and get your crazy hair ready. Pause the video, get your crazy hair ready, and then meet me back here. All right, folks, we're going to get started. Make sure, as always, you have your notes ready to go. Today is lesson 7. We are going to compare numbers and distance from 0. So we're going to compare the value of numbers and the distance from 0 of numbers. Do you remember what we call the distance from 0? You learned it yesterday. Yep, the absolute value. So let's go ahead and set up our notes. This is Unit 7, Lesson 7, comparing numbers and distance from 0. All right, and today is April 8th, 2020. Your notes should look just like this so far. We're going to start a little bit differently today, so bear with me, but I'm going to use, in order to do our task, I needed some sticky notes, and I wanted to make it in a way that you could see it really easily. So I found this website that will allow me to move around some virtual sticky notes. So we're going to try that out today. Before we dive into, we need to read the task. So today, we are using absolute value to describe elevation, and we're going to compare the absolute values of rational numbers. So those are positive and negative whole numbers, fractions, and decimals. Here we go. Let's talk about submarines. A submarine is at an elevation of negative 100 feet. Remember, that means 100 feet below sea level. Let's compare the elevations of these 4 people to that of the submarine. So here's what we're going to do first. Let's think about where the submarine would be on a number line. If I want to compare the value of elevations, I'm going to go ahead and draw them on a number line. That's at negative 100 feet. I'm going to go to my virtual sticky notes here. And you notice I already have a number line over here. It is a vertical number line because elevation is our vertical distance from sea level. So theoretically, you could do a number line that's horizontal, but for elevation, it makes the most sense to use a vertical number line. Remember, 0 is the sea level in an elevation question, okay? The submarine is 100 feet below sea level. So the submarine's elevation is at negative 100. So I'm going to go ahead and drop our submarine right there, okay? Now on your notes, I want you to go ahead and draw this number line. My tick marks, just so you know, go up by 20. So 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. And I go all the way from positive 200 to negative 200. I didn't label all of the intermediate steps, I just labeled the hundreds. So go ahead and take a minute and write down this number line on your paper, draw this on your paper, and go ahead and put the submarine where it goes. So I'll put my document camera up as well. Okay, go ahead and just take a minute to draw that. All right, here is a look at what I have. My number line took up really like most of the page because I have these grid lines. It's okay if yours is a little smaller. I did go ahead and draw in sea level because we're talking about elevation. So 0 represents sea level, and the submarine is at negative 100 feet, which is 100 feet below the sea level. Okay? Go ahead and pause the video here if you need to finish up your number line. If you're ready, then go ahead and join me here. We are going to compare the elevations of different people to the elevation of the submarine, okay? So let's talk first about Claire. Claire's elevation is greater than the elevation of the submarine. Claire is farther from sea level than the submarine. I'm gonna read it one more time. Claire's elevation is greater. Her elevation is? Claire is farther from sea level than the submarine, okay? So there's two things I want you to jot on your notes about Claire. Claire is greater than sub. I'm writing sub for submarine. And she is farther from, I'm going to write SL for sea level because I think we're going to be writing that a bunch today. So I just want to take a shortcut. Okay. Farther from sea level. Sea level is 0. Farther from 0 reminds me of that term I learned yesterday, absolute value. Okay, so Claire must have a greater absolute value. Okay, so let's go ahead and put Claire on our number line. I'm going to go to my sticky notes because I want to kind of drag this around a little bit. So Claire's elevation is greater than the submarine, which means she is above the submarine. So Claire could be maybe here at negative 80 feet. Maybe she's in some kind of underwater vessel. Maybe she is here at negative 40 feet. Maybe, right? That would all be greater than the submarine. Maybe she's way up here at 200. Is that greater than the submarine's elevation? Absolutely. So Claire is somewhere up here, greater than the submarine. The second condition said farther from sea level than the submarine. So let me drop her here. Maybe she's just floating. She's swimming just under sea level, maybe. Is she greater? Is her elevation greater than the submarine? Yes. Is she farther from sea level than the submarine? No. So this can't be Claire's location, right? Can she be here? Nope, she can't be here. She is greater than the submarine's elevation, but she is not farther from 0. She's closer to 0 than the submarine. She's closer to sea level. So Claire actually needs to be at least 100 feet away from sea level, right? If she were exactly at 100, she'd be the same distance away from sea level as the submarine because there's 100 feet here and 100 feet here, okay? But she needs to actually be farther. So I'm going to bump her up. Let's say she's at, I don't know, 140, okay? Claire could be in a lot of places somewhere between 100 and 200, okay? So she must be, maybe she is, I don't know, skydiving, flying through the air. Maybe she is on a cliff and her elevation is, 140 feet above where the sea level is, but she is on land, right? A couple of options here. Go ahead and update your paper. Put Claire on your number line. All right, let's talk about my great friend Andre. Andre's elevation is less than the elevation of the submarine. Andre is farther away from sea level than the submarine. I'm going to read it one more time. Andre's elevation is less than the elevation of the submarine. Andre is farther away from sea level than the submarine. Okay, so let's just jot those two things on our paper. Andre has an elevation that's less than less than the submarine, and he is farther from sea level. The submarine is 100 feet away from sea level. Andre must be farther than that. So let me head to my sticky notes. Let's see. Andre's is less. That means that Andre's must be below the submarine somewhere and needs to be farther away from sea level. So where could Andre go? Andre could go anywhere between less than negative 100 all the way down to the bottom of my number line or farther than that. I'm going to put him, I don't know, how about here? That's at negative 120, negative 140, negative 160. I'm going to put him at negative 160. Go ahead and put that on your paper. If you decide I'm going to put him at negative 140 or negative 120 or negative 200, all of that is okay as well. All right, let's talk about Han. This says Han's elevation is greater than the elevation of the submarine. Han is closer to sea level than is the submarine. Let's jot those two things on our paper. Han has, my first bullet point, greater than sub. And my second bullet point says closer to sea level. Closer to sea level. So where could Han go? Go ahead and choose a spot for Han. All right, here's what I'm thinking. I know that Han must have a greater elevation than the submarine. So I'm thinking anything above the submarine, but also closer to sea level than the submarine. So the submarine is 100 feet away. So anything that's less than 100 feet away could be Han. So could Han be here at negative 80 feet? Yes. His elevation is greater than the submarine and his elevation is closer to sea level, 20 feet closer to sea level, right? Only 80 feet away, not 100. Could Han be here at negative 20 feet? Totally. Could Han be at sea level? Maybe he's just floating on the top of the ocean here. Yeah, Han could be here. Could Han be up here at, I don't know, 60 feet above sea level? That's interesting. In that position, is Han's elevation greater than the elevation of the submarine? Yes, because Han's elevation is above the submarine on the number line, I can tell that his elevation is greater. Is Han's elevation closer to sea level in this position? Yes, right? Han is only 20, 40, 60 feet away from sea level. The submarine is 100 feet away. So even though the distance from sea level is a different direction, it is still true that Han's elevation is closer to sea level. Okay, go ahead and put Han somewhere on your number line if you haven't done that already. I am going to put him in the positives because I anticipate that not everybody thought of that. So I'm going to go ahead and put Han here. As long as he's between negative 100 and positive 100 on your number line, that could be a location for Han, so you answered correctly. Okay. All right, team, last one. Here's Lynn. Lynn's elevation is the same distance away from sea level as the submarines. Huh. Okay. So let's update our notes. Lynn is same distance from sea level. Same distance from sea level. So same distance from 0. That means that Lynn's elevation has the same absolute value as the submarine. Lynn could be in exactly 2 places. Can you think of both? Lynn could be up here at exactly 100 feet. This location for Lynn has an absolute value or a distance from sea level, a distance from sea level that is identical to the submarine's distance from sea level. It's in a different direction. She's above and the submarine is below, but the distance is the same. Lynn could also be here, exactly where the submarine is at -100. Maybe she's taking a ride on the submarine. Okay, so those are two possible locations. Go ahead and jot Lynn in one of those two locations on your number line. All right, I've got Lynn at +100. Remember, Lynn could also be at -100. Those are two possible correct answers. So what have we done so far? We've looked at different elevations of a submarine and 4 pretend people. And we've done that so that we can compare the value and the absolute value of these elevations, of these positive and negative numbers, right? So when I compare the value of a number, I'm thinking which one is above or below, which one is greater or less, right? Andre's elevation is less than the submarine's elevation. The submarine's elevation is greater than Andre's elevation, right? So I'm thinking below, above, or I'm thinking, if I have my number line horizontal, I'm thinking left and right, okay? When I compare absolute value, I'm not comparing value, it's a little different. I'm comparing distance from 0. So here is sea level, here is 0. I can tell that the submarine is closer to 0 than Andre is, right? I can tell that the submarine is closer to 0 than Claire is. Because of those observations, I can tell the submarine's elevation is less than Claire's elevation because it's below. And I can tell that the absolute value of the submarine is less than Claire's because the submarine is less far from 0 than Claire is. Right? So I'm really comparing, there's 2 ways to compare numbers that we're going to be practicing in this unit and this week is value and absolute value. So let's get a little bit more practice in. What do you say? What I want to do is complete this table with you. So in order to do this effectively, we really need to write this table on our paper. I want to review the directions first, and then I'll give you time to copy the table, okay? Complete the table as follows. We are going to write a possible elevation for each person. No problem. We've already got them on our number line, so this should be quick. Use less than, greater than, or equal to compare the elevation of that person to the submarine. Use absolute value to tell how far away the person is from sea level. As an example, the first row has been filled with a possible elevation for Claire. So I put Claire at 140 feet. This example has 150 feet. I'm going to actually just change it so that it's not confusing as I give you some time to work, because I put Claire at 140 feet. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Claire's elevation on my number line is 140. She's above sea level, so this is positive. Okay. If I compare that to the submarine, her elevation, 140, is greater than the submarine's elevation, -100. It's greater than the submarine's because it's above. It's above the submarine. Claire's distance from sea level is the absolute value of her elevation, which is 140, and the absolute value of 140 is 140. So this is really asking, what's the distance from 0? Okay, I want you to fill in the table for Andre, Han, and Lynn, just like it's done for you for Claire. And then I want you to move on and answer question 2. Question 2 says, Priya says her elevation is less than the submarine's, and she is closer to sea level. Is this possible? Explain. So you're going to answer these 2 questions. You can label this table number 1, and here is number 2. Okay. Instead of a timer, I'm going to actually play a song for you for the amount of time we're going to have to practice. I think it's a 3-minute song. It comes from my quarantine playlist, which is a playlist that I made full of songs about being sick or isolated or whatever. And I thought you might like it. I'm going to play Elton John's song, I'm Still Standing, because I hope that you all are not sick. I hope you are healthy and still standing. Here we go. This is a 3-minute long song to do question number 1, the table, and question 2. Okay, go ahead. All right, there is the end of our song. I'm finishing my last sentence, so go ahead and wrap up your work. Click pause if you're going to need a little bit more time. All right. Here's what I got, team. I found, make it slightly bigger. I found on my number line that Andre was at an elevation of negative 160 feet. If I compare that to the submarine, Andre is below the submarine, so Andre's is less. So Andre's elevation, negative 160, is less than negative 100. Negative 160 is less than negative 100. Note, if these numbers were positive, positive 160 is greater than positive 100. So remember, negative numbers, everything's flopped. Everything's the inverse. Negative 160 is farther to the left or farther below. So because of that, I've got just a different set of rules. Negative 160 is less than negative 100. And then Andre's distance from sea level is the absolute value of his elevation. So the absolute value of negative 160 is 160. Okay. Here is Hans, 60 feet. 60 is greater than negative 100. The absolute value of 60 is 60. So Han is 60 feet away from sea level. Lynn's elevation on my number line is 100 feet. Remember that Lynn could also have been negative 100. Okay. 100 is greater than negative 100. It's above, so it's greater. If you put Lynn at negative 100 feet, you would have written negative 100 equals negative 100, and that's okay too. The absolute value of her elevation is 100 feet. Okay. Here's what I was thinking for number 2. I want to read the question one more time. Priya says her elevation is less than the submarines, and she is closer to sea level. Is this possible? I want to look at my number line. Is it possible for Priya to be less than the submarine and closer to 0? Now, everything less than the submarine is farther away from 0 than the submarine is. So here's my answer. No, it is not possible to be less than the submarine, below it, and closer to 0 because elevations below negative 100 are farther from 0. Okay. If you said no, it's not possible, and you left an explanation that's similar to mine, go ahead and give yourself a star. Way to go. I love that question. All right, let's try a little bit of practice. Okay, so here's what we're going to do next. We are going to just write inequality statements. That's overall what we're going to be doing. So here are some numbers and inequality symbols. Here are all the numbers. My inequality symbols are down here. This is less than, equal to, and greater than. It says work with your partner. You don't have a partner. I'm your partner, I guess. Work with your partner to write true comparison statements. Okay, so what you're going to do is select 2 numbers and 1 comparison symbol and use them to write a true statement using symbols. The other partner will write a sentence in words with the same meaning using these phrases: is equal to, is the absolute value of, is greater than, is less than. Okay. For example, one partner could write this. This is with symbols. This is with, and the other would write this sentence. Okay. This says 4 is less than 8, so that's why it's written out like a sentence. Then you're going to switch role. We can't really do that. So what I want you to do is go ahead and write 3 statements with symbols and words. Okay. I'm going to give you an example so you know exactly what I'm looking for. Let's label this question 3. And I want you to give me A, B, and C. Okay, you're going to be doing 3 statements. So I'm going to pick 2 numbers. I like 7/2 and I like 1. No. Yeah, I'll do 1. I was doubting myself because I picked 2 positive numbers and maybe it would be spicier to do negative. So I encourage you to do some negative numbers. But let's compare 7/2 and 1. Okay. I'm going to switch to my paper. Here's number 3A. I'm going to compare 7/2 and 1. And I left a space here. That's where my inequality symbol is going to go. Okay. So I'm actually thinking I'm going to draw these on a quick number line. Here's 0, here's 1. 7/2 is an improper fraction. I know it's going to be greater than 1. I just said it. Did you hear it? I know it's going to be greater than 1. So I'm going to fill in my greater than sign. Okay? Here it is with symbols. Now I'm going to write it in words. 7/2 is greater than 1. Okay? I'm going to do 2 more. You're going to do 3. So yours should not be mine. You're going to come up with 3 statements using the numbers from the list that is here. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and pick another song. Let's see. I like this one. All right, I think I'm going to stop this song early because it's more than 3 minutes and we don't need that much time. So I'll stop this song early, but go ahead and get started with your 3 statements. Last 30 seconds. All right, let's stop here. Did you get my quarantine joke with that song? We got to stay separately. We got to dance with ourselves. No dancing with our friends now, huh? All right. I'm just going to review my answers with you. I added 2 more. I compared, and again, you're going to have different than these, and that's okay. But I compared -3/5 and -4. I dropped them on a number line, and I noticed that -3/5 was farther to the right on my number line, so I know that it's greater. So here's the symbol I used. -3/5 is greater than -4. And then I wrote it in a sentence, -3/5 is greater than -4. Okay. Then I wanted to spice it up. I picked the absolute value of -8, and I picked -2 5/10. I know that the absolute value of -8 means how far away -8 is from 0. -8 is 8 units away from 0, 8 spaces. I know that 8 is greater than -2.5. So I know that the absolute value of -8 is greater than -2.5. That's what I wrote. The absolute value of -8 is greater than -2.5. Okay? Just as a reminder, because I know this can be tricky, if I wanted to compare -8 and -2.5, so not the absolute value anymore, but just -8, what inequality symbol should I use? I'm going to look at them on a number line. Here's 0, and I'm counting backwards this way. That's how I like to do it. I hit -2.5 first, and then I come all the way back here and I hit -8. So now I'm comparing their values, and I notice that -8 is farther to the left. That means it is less. That means it is. So I know -8 is less than negative 2.5, and I'm going to throw a less than symbol into my statement. Awesome. All right, team. So our guided practice is done. I'm going to give you an instruction now for how to write your comment because I want to change things a little bit. I have been asking you to do a lesson summary in the comment. What I want you to do today is follow one specific direction. Okay. The direction is please write an inequality statement in symbols and words in the comment. It can be one that you already wrote. It cannot be one of mine. Okay, so go ahead and use one of yours that you feel confident in, put a negative number in there, and just type in -8 is less than -2.5 or whatever yours is, and then hit enter or hit a comma, and then write this too. -8 is less than -2 5/10. So both parts, the mathematical, the inequality statement in symbols and words, comparing two numbers. Okay, you can use one that you've already written. You cannot use one of my examples. I want to see what you can do. Okay. In addition to that comment, please complete your skill builder. You just need to get 3 correct in a row. And please complete your independent practice today. Okay. Happy late wacky hair day. Happy crazy sock day today. And I will see you guys here tomorrow. Have a great day. Stay safe. Be nice to your parents.